All right, everyone. Without further ado, I would really like to introduce these two titans of industry. The first is going to be a Podiatry Hall of Fame member who's been guiding professionals and business leaders as a coach and trainer for over 18 years through a variety of different avenues, and has a number of constantly working ways of helping podiatrists to really meet their marketing goals and improve their practices. And the other speaker here today has well over 30 years of experience within the medical device industry, launching, marketing, and medical devices across a number of different specialties. He's successfully operated a Fortune 500 company and is the current CEO and founder of Hyperion Medical, the parent company of the Smart-ABI. And so without further ado, I'd like to introduce both Scott Day and Rim Jackson.
Well, thank you very much, Josh. It's a delight to be here. And really dig into this topic. I had asked when Scott and I were talking about trying to talk about this particular modality, this device, and what are these devices and what they can do. I was first introduced to it by you, Scott. I don't know, was it 4 years ago? About, you think?
Yeah, I think I told you about it before we actually took it to market, yeah. And then we brought it to market November 2018.
Yeah. Okay. And and my doctors are always asking me, what can we do to not only increase our patient outcomes, but increase our profitability and do it so that I don't have to be the one doing it. And this came along, and I've watched it now, and dozens and dozens of our top practices members use this, and they're thrilled with it. But there's economics aside to it, and there's benefits that with this kind of a strategy, and we're going to use this device as the example. You can do this, with other things that you might be using in your practice. And I happen to think Scott's one of the most eloquent people when it comes to this. So he'll be doing most of the presenting tonight. I'm gonna do color commentary for all of that. So Scott, it's a delight to be with you. So thanks for having me on board, and let's turn it over to you.
Yeah, well, thank you, Rem, for giving us an opportunity to talk tonight and organizing this. And thank you, Josh, for the introduction. I'm just going to go ahead and dive into the presentation. These are the 4 devices that we put together. They all have different functionality. I'm not going to talk a lot about the functionality of the devices, but we will go into the clinical efficacy of the device a little bit. And we do online demonstrations, clinical demonstrations. If you're interested, I think you can sign up for one once we finish here if you're still interested.
And by the way, if you have questions, the Q&A box is active. And if you type those in, not only will Scott and I be able to see that, but Josh will be keeping a close eye on it. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Yeah, and Rem, jump in anytime if you want to have anything that you
will
like
do that.
To add. Okay, thank you.
I'll just interrupt you. Thank you.
Okay, so as all of you know, I mean, PAD is a major issue and a big problem in the United States. These are the numbers. I'm not going to go through them, but you can see, it's an increasing number, as you can imagine, as the population continues to age. This is the reason why we developed the Smart-ABI. 3 out of 4 patients are asymptomatic, and you have to be 60% occluded before symptoms actually occur. And in fact, American Heart Association, American Diabetes Association, for over 10 years now has been recommending that anyone at risk for PAD perform an ABI on. And there's a bunch of studies that are out there if you're interested. I mean, the ABI has been around for decades, and it's primarily because it has an incredible sensitivity and specificity number. And everything that we do is documented by supporting literature. But the biggest population of patients, and this, all of these patients are at risk for getting PAD. They may not have symptoms at this point, but they're certainly at risk for PAD, and there's a big push to capture as much PAD as you can in the marketplace. And our device lends itself to be able to, literally test everyone at risk for PAD. And the American Heart Association put this out about 10 years ago. It's a questionnaire. You'll notice that the first 5 or 6 questions are all symptomatic patients, and you're either going to test them or send them to a vascular specialist. And then the remaining questions are all comorbidities and place patients that are at high risk. We use this at intake with our customers, and based on whether or not they answer yes to the first one, obviously you're going to put them in the room and test them. But if they answer yes to 2 or more of these comorbidities, we recommend that you go ahead and test them. We actually do webinars with Dr. Jeffrey Lerman once a month, and I think you're going to go ahead and put Josh will post those webinars so that you can sign up for one if you'd like to. And he does coding documentation on CPT codes that are related directly to this. This is just a graphic display of the problem. I mean, these are symptomatic patients. 3 out of 4 patients that are asymptomatic but have PAD are the ones that are largely undiagnosed. And that's why, for every 1 symptomatic patient, we recommend that you're going to test 10 high risk patients in order to capture the 3 asymptomatic patients. And as you know, telling a patient to change behavior doesn't always work. Oftentimes it doesn't work. And without a diagnosis, they're certainly not going to change their behavior. And it's all about changing behavior. But without a diagnosis, and it's all documented, patients won't change behavior. So in order to, help these patients, they're going to have to change some of the things that they do. Why have they not been done routinely? Manual ABIs are time consuming, subject to human error. It's not a billable event. And then, up until the advent of the Smart-ABI, current technologies take a lot of time, specialized trained technician, hard to read waveforms, requires a lot of rescheduling. So, they're not done, even though, it's a great test and they're recommended to be done. It's not being done. So, we developed Smart-ABI. It's a 5-minute test. We actually timed it. It's actually 4 minutes. The throughput, the actual test time is 1.5 minutes. We do test both arteries and both legs, and it increases your practice revenue.
Can I jump in on that one, Scott? Because
yes,
that's one number that, in fact, I've been really focusing on. There are 3 key numbers that if you, in your practice, there's many, many numbers, lots of things you need to know. But there are 3 points of leverage. The first one is the number and quality of patients that are in your treatment rooms every day. We'll talk about that a little bit later because that's really a function of marketing. Another one is your per visit revenue. That is how much is generated every time a patient comes in the door. But the third one that is not discussed very much, and I've been looking at pretty closely now for about the last 3.5 years, is how much revenue does your practice generate every hour that it's open? This you need to know. You divide your collections by a certain period of time, and you divide that by the number of hours, like for a year. And then maybe you would want to look at, and again, 2020 is always such a tough year. Look at 2019, divide your total collections by the total number of hours that you and your staff were in the clinic seeing patients. If you can do that for 2019, but do it for this year, you're going to come up with a number. And now this is the fascinating thing, because this is a measure of how efficiently you're running and effectively you're running your practice. It's how effectively you're using your treatment rooms, your people, and your time. So if you have staff that is simultaneously doing this while you're treating the heel pain patient or someone else, then the amount of money that your practice will collect every hour that it's open goes up, and it can go up dramatically. And just to give you a couple benchmarks, the number I found is sort of the average number is about $550 The average podiatry practice generates about $550 every hour that they're open. I've got practices that generate around, this is one doctor only. I'm not talking about multiple doctors. $1,000 an hour. Those doctors call themselves the $1,000 employee. So if you and your staff can be generating this every hour that you're open, and they can be doing this, it can drastically increase your comprehensiveness of care, really the outcomes and the care that you give your patients and your profits dramatically. So this is a great slide, Scott.
Thank you. But if you like that one, you'll probably like this one too. Sorry. The other thing that's important is it's very easy to run and operate. And we designed it so that anyone in the office can actually do it. I mean, it's actually color coordinated arrows. It has arrows on the cuffs. Each cuff is color coordinated. And then, each cuffs, indicates whether it's the left arm, or left ankle, right ankle, or, which arm you're going to put it on. And then here you increase practice revenue per hour again by having your staff actually doing the test while you're doing other things that only a physician can actually do. So, that ease of use is a major indication or benefit of the actual Smart-ABI. The other thing that is, as a result of the device, I mean, you can become even a better referring partner. And we're going to talk about this a little more at another slide, but you're able to, by testing everyone at risk, you can capture all the PAD in your practice over a year. And, by doing more tests, you're going to increase more referrals. You can establish a patient baseline of where they're at. Even if they're at risk, if they don't have PAD, if they're at high risk, at some point they will have PAD if they don't change their behavior. And then, it's able to reduce false negatives and false positives. I think Josh can talk a little bit more about that. But, the device actually lends itself for all of these things.
I can talk a little bit more about the false positives and false negatives.
Yeah,
really, it's going to reduce false negatives because ultimately the clinical exam is not enough to accurately diagnose peripheral artery disease, right? And so by introducing a device like this, you're going to be catching more peripheral arterial disease, all of that asymptomatic PAD. And in terms of reducing false positives, you're no longer sending out patients that you're not quite sure on. You have a definitive benchmark on all of your patients. You have established a baseline and you know where they're at before you actually send them on for further imaging. So the patients that you do send are just much higher quality referrals.
Thank you. Okay, so the next thing is the various marketing opportunities of the device. One thing that a lot of our customers like to do is these charitable events where you can do a vascular screening. You can literally test, 80 patients in one day, and you can align yourself with a charity in your marketplace. So you can do, a charitable event. Everyone benefits. The patient gets a test. The charity, gets notoriety. They'll actually market the event through their social media for you, so it doesn't really cost you anything other than you and your staff's time. And through the testing, you'll end up getting patients that need to come back for an additional consultation. So you can build your practice by doing this. And then there's also events every month that are put on that you can align yourself with to, attract additional patients. And all of these, there's a list of these that we can give to you if you're interested. But it's pretty well known that you can do that, or align yourself with that. And the other thing is you can put patient education brochures in the waiting room, posters in every room. And then, we give you images, high quality images to build your website as offering vascular services.
And you can have those same kind of screening events actually in your own office as well.
Yeah, and showcase your office. Yeah, you just do it right in your office. The charities will actually have ambassadors greeting people at the door. And yeah, it's actually a nice thing for the community.
Yep.
And then the financial impact, you know, we threw this in because, you know, we've heard recently that it's harder and harder to get qualified medical assistants because of everything that's happened in the marketplace. And, you know, we've seen this in other specialties where you're actually, you know, compensating, you know, your employees for doing exams or doing certain tests. This can actually enhance the compensation. So what you're accustomed to paying one of these, you know, assistants, you know, you can actually double their compensation, maybe attract better quality medical assistants by you know, giving them compensation and incentivizing them for doing specific tests. And it's not just this device; you can do it with other devices as well. Do you see that happening at all, Rem?
No,
mean,
I have to say, when I reviewed all of this today. When
mhm,
I saw this, I thought, why didn't anybody why hasn't anybody
mhm,
anyone I've spoken to anywhere thought about this? I mean, the
mhm.
idea I mean, right now it is incredibly difficult to find people that want to work. And if this is a way that you can, you know, obvious, I mean, you don't pay them unless it's done well and right, and as many as we can do. I mean, that is brilliant.
Yeah.
I think you're going to
Well,
attract some really high quality people. And that's, you know, it's interesting because I'll have, like, my doctors now are having, they're using like as MAs, people that are in a gap year, but before they go to PA school or podiatry school or medical school. And they're shocked at how fast they pick everything up and how engaged they are. It's just a different demographic of people. And if you're able to say, and by the way this works, this is your base pay, but whenever you're conducting this, like you said, you can do this with other devices, this can raise your pay.
mhm.
That's brilliant.
Well, thank you. I mean, we hear this all the time. I mean, guys get technology, whether it's a, you know, a new X-ray machine or whatever it is, and they can't get people to do the tests, or they don't do enough for the tests. You know, we have a system in place where you do it at intake. You put because you have a decision tree, you can put, you know, at intake, you know, everybody knows, you know, if they answer yes to one, you put them in the room, do the test. If they answer two or more questions, you know, on the bottom half of the questionnaire, you put them in the room and do the test. So the tests and the results are sitting there before the doctor even enters the room. But this can actually enhance the compensation quite a
Ah,
bit, and you'll be able to attract the right people, I think. So
yeah.
I'm glad you like that,
Nurse,
Ron.
I would love that.
Yeah, we've seen it in dermatologist plastic surgery offices and in other offices as well, starting to do this. So yeah, increase your practice value. I know there's a lot of you know, companies out there that are starting to buy podiatry practices. I mean, podiatry is the last specialty, it seems like, that's still largely independent. I mean, if you look at internal medicine, I think there's maybe 10% are still in private practice, where podiatry is on the other side, 95% still in private practice. And you know, they're getting gobbled up by equity firms, vascular offices, or vascular surgeons, interventional cardiologists, and hospitals. They're all buying podiatry practices, and they'll buy it based on gross revenue. But you know, we like to think that, you know, they're also buying them for the future revenue of these patients. And so with our device, you can document every PAD patient in your office. If you can demonstrate year over year that they're coming back to get the test or the exam, you know, once, twice, or three times a year, depending on the extent and severity of their PAD, whether or not they've, you know, had a procedure or not, determines medical necessity, as you know. But by documenting these patients in your practice, you have, you know, a pipeline of PAD patients that are going to pop out at some point. You can start to realistically predict what that is. And I mean, you can do the math on, you know, an arthrectomy. I don't know what they're paying now, but it's like 15,000 for an arthrectomy. And you know, so if you have 1,000 PAD patients that are documented coming back that's something that you could potentially put on a line item on your financial statements, and it becomes a negotiable point for future valuation of the practice. It doesn't have to necessarily just be, annual gross receipts.
I think that's really important for everybody to be thinking about. Now, some of you are, much younger, and your exit is far in the future. So this is still preparing for that. The private equity groups that are moving through podiatry right now will be gone in 2 to 4 years. It'll be over. And it really depends on your particular circumstances, whether you do that or not. It's good for some doctors, it's not good for others. But the idea that the vascular groups, multi-special clinics, podiatrists have enormous value as a referring and feeding system into there, because the revenue that they can generate from this population right here it's astounding, actually. So this is a perfect way of making your practice more valuable. And I'm so glad we spoke about this, because I don't think the average podiatrist would never even think of this. It just wouldn't occur to them. So remember, this matters.
Well, I mean, up until the advent of a device that's fast and simple to do, I mean, you wouldn't even consider 3 or 4 years ago that you could actually capture all the pad in your practice and make it a line item on your balance sheet that has value to it. I mean, you can make money, as you're doing it, but by being able to document it and demonstrate that these patients actually exist, where they're at in the continuum of the progression of the PAD, just gives you another negotiable point other than gross receipts.
Right. It's great.
Okay. Thank you. One of the things that we talk about financially is, Smart-ABI is an investment, and it's a revenue producing asset. A lot of podiatrists, MDs, the first consideration they ask about is cost, but never consider revenue. The last company I had, Rem, we built medical spas, and dermatologists, plastic surgeons, the number one thing that they look at, what I think is probably equally important, if not more important than cost, is the revenue potential. And and revenue potential based on existing patient base. I mean, we don't like to, if we don't have to, if you don't have to spend marketing dollars to drive more patients, and you have a patient base that can do that for you. You really need to look at your revenue potential, and then, consider that in relation to the cost and how quickly you can pay it off. I mean, I've been doing medical devices like 30 years, and the sniff test has always been, if you can realistically expect to pay off a device in 12 months and it's clinically relevant and efficacious, it might be a good investment. 12-month payback. Yeah.
Yeah, and then you have a monthly cost as you're paying for the unit. By the way, this is a very affordable unit compared to many other things you might consider purchasing. This is really an affordable unit. And then, but you always look at, what am I spending per month, and paying this off, and you can overcome that in the first month. That's the part. I mean, it's profitable to start, and you don't think about, well, it's going to take me this many months to pay it off. Don't think about it like that, because all along the way, you're still producing revenue that goes to the bottom line. So that's always the way to look at these investments. And without it, you can't do it.
Yeah, if you don't have any revenue potential, cost doesn't matter. But
that's right.
And to Rem's point, I mean, the break even on this is like 1 a week or 4 patients. I mean, most podiatrists are referring out like 8 to 10 patients that are symptomatic. And remember, we're doing at-risk patients that have 2 or more comorbidities. And if you have, for every 1 symptomatic patient, you're going to test 10 high-risk patients to capture the 3 that are not symptomatic. And or the payback is 2 patients a day. 2 patients a day tested by the device, and you'll have 100% return on your investment within 3 to 4 months. And that's, we've done over 500 of these, and that's the numbers that we're seeing. So we do work with a bank, New Lane Finance. We've been working with these guys for over 10 years. It's direct to the bank. So there's no middleman. If you decide to buy the machine, cash check, wire transfer, credit card, most guys actually, believe it or not, go for this 6-month no payment plan. They can set it up on a capital lease, write it all off in the year of purchase, and you have no payments for 6 months. Most people, if you follow our plan of taking it in, using the American Heart Association survey at intake, and then if you incentivize your people, it's like, they already have a decision tree. Put the patient in the room, go and test it before the doctor even sees the patient. And they have no early payment penalty after 12 payments. So and it's a one page approval, so it's very fast compared to a bank. This is Section 179. You guys probably heard about this. If you elect a 179 deduction, you can write it all off on the year of purchase, so you get an immediate tax benefit as well.
Yep.
We can send all this stuff to you if you're interested.
One thing I want to add to that, Scott, is that right now it's November. If you were to finance this device and not take the 6 months of no payments, you will receive your return on your tax benefit on the device before you've made your first payment. So it's actually going to be a cash positive asset for you to end the year.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And in summary, Smart-ABI is extremely fast, easy to run and operate. Results are immediate, so you're not doing any more rescheduling of all these patients. And I know staff knows all about the rescheduling. I mean, patients don't always come back. They have an episode. I've talked to a number of our customers that the report, if it's in the red, they send it to a vascular specialist. They get them in right away. So, I mean, it's been reported that they've, saved some limbs. It's 100% reimbursable, so you don't have to split the fee unless you decide to. At any time, if you have any question on anything, you can send it to a vascular specialist. But if you don't send it to them, you get 100% reimbursement. Patient-friendly reports important so that they understand it's not just a grayscale squiggly line that's not understandable. It's very cost-effective, and then it's very convenient. We do everything online. So,
Well, and I'd like to just speak to that. So, the real first of all, just let everybody know. Outside of being a fan of their customer service and the quality of what they have, I have no relationship with Smart-ABI, Hyperion, in any way other than they're doing great work and really partnering with my doctors. And that's why I'm on tonight, because my doctors always want to know, what else can I do? What else can I do? Especially, what else can I do that my staff can do and I don't have to do? Because that just expands my ability to, again, raise my dollars per hour and have a more efficient practice. So this is the list, and it's just everything about it has been, I have 100% really rave reviews from all my doctors.
Oh, thank you for that, Rem. I was going to say to that point, I mean, we're spending our time now. We give free software updates, and we're calling all the customers daily, offering the free software. Because of the pandemic, we've extended the warranty and service agreements for 3 months so that they can take advantage of our new value-added services, and that all comes with it. And we're actively trying to help people increase their utilization of the device. So
the other thing you guys do that is I think is great is every single month you've got all that training, and here we go again. Here's Dr. Lehrman again. Here we are. We'll go over it. You'll go over this as many times every single month as people need to make sure that it's working. It's not like, well, you had your training and now, well, no, it's just always there and it's live and fresh. And I think that's a heck of a great customer service commitment. I commend you for that too.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, we calibrate the devices once a year. When we see a customer that's not getting the kind of utilization that they should be getting, then we offer we got a education module called the Utilization Booster. And then, yes, we have online training with Dr. Lehrman, which is all free to our customers and free to anybody that wants to attend that webinar on the CPT codes for documentation and everything. And yeah, we're constantly trying to help everybody, capture the pad in their marketplace.
Right.
All right, we do have a few questions. It looks like we've got about 6 or 7 questions now. If anyone would like to ask questions, please don't hesitate to do that. Feel free to enter your questions into the Q&A box within the Zoom webinar. Before I ask our first question, I do know that we have a number of customers on today, and so I want to thank all of the customers that we have that have joined today. And I want to reiterate exactly what Scott said. Right now, we are making a big push to try and get all of our customers on the most up-to-date software. If you want to get out in front of that, feel free to contact us and you'll get at the top of the line. But yeah, that is a big push that we've been doing lately, just to try and make sure that everybody's operating at the best value and the best that the device has to offer. So the very first question we have is, how do I sign up for an online demo? And the answer to that is, if you go to www.smartabi.com/contact, you can fill out the form and request an online demo, or you can email info@hyperionmed.com. That email address is info@hyperionmed.com. I'm also sending those into the answered question and answer, so that you're able to see both the web address and the email that you can sign up for those. The next question we have is, when is the next Dr. Lehrman coding webinar? And the correct answer for that is December 8th. The next one is going to be December 8th at 5 p.m. Eastern. And you can sign up for those at the exact same locations. You can request the registration link through our contact page, or we will send it to you if you would like to email us at info@hyperionmed.com. We'll make sure that you get that registration link tomorrow. Next question is, what are the differences in the devices and how much do they cost?
You waiting for me?
Yeah.
Sorry. Well, that's a good question. I mean, I would just say, if you want that information, you should probably just sign up for an online demo. I mean, the online demo takes like 20-30 minutes. It's a clinical demonstration. And if you send in a request for information, we can get your information to a sales rep and he'll get that information to you.
Okay, the next question I have is, do I get paid for testing asymptomatic patients?
Yeah, it's based on medical necessity. So if you determine medical necessity, you definitely would get paid. And really, you should just sign up for one of Dr. Lehrman's webinars. And if you can't attend the webinar, we do have recordings of the last several webinars. We do them every month, and there's recordings, so we can send you a link. And we encourage you to do the live webinar because you can talk directly to Dr. Lehrman. But we do have links to previous webinars that you can certainly get and listen to. But certainly you'll get paid. And the questionnaire serves as documentation for medical necessity.
The next one I have is, can these tests be performed in nursing homes or on home visits?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we have several customers that are doing it now, and they've been successful at doing the test and billing for it and collecting. So yes, the answer would be yes.
Okay. Next question I have is, if you finance it, can you still get the tax savings?
Yeah, I mean, you want to talk to Mike Stepp as the banker that we deal with at New Lane Finance, but as long as it's set up as a capital lease, and the SNP test on that is just a $1 buyout, as opposed to say a 10% buyout or a fair market value. So if you set it up as a capital lease, $1 buyout, yes.
Okay. So we do have another question. Cost aside, can you provide a brief highlight of what the different devices are in the 4 machines? We currently use PadNet.
Yeah, so the base model, the Smart-ABI, does vascular testing, arterial testing, gives you ABI. You know, we do more than just ABI, because an ABI alone is not going to give you all the information that you need. You'd have to look at the report. But the ABI Plus is basically the ABI, but it gives you TBI. So you can get toe pressure as well. And then the Smart Lida, that's the ABI Plus here. Okay. And then the Lida, it's a 2-in-1 device where you can do ABI and you can do sudomotor function or peripheral autonomic neuropathy. Okay. And then the Smart Lida Plus, you can do ABI, sudomotor function for peripheral neuropathy, and TBI for toe brachial pressures.
That's exactly right. And we go into a lot more depth, especially not only about the ankle brachial index and how we are so fast and how we back up that speed, and the toe brachial index and the added benefits of that, but also we go into a ton of depth in the online demonstration, the online clinical demonstration, about the peripheral autonomic neuropathy piece that's associated with sudomotor function testing capabilities of the Smart Lida devices.
Yeah, it gives you 2 CPT codes. You're able to differentiate between arterial and nerve. Oftentimes the symptoms are the same, and you'll be able to differentiate whether it's a nerve, autonomic neuropathy, or arterial function.
And so that was actually our last question. If anyone has any more questions, please go ahead and submit those now. Otherwise, I'm going to turn it over to you two for a brief wrap up.
Well, I'll jump in and say that, especially that last question, what I continually hear from the doctors, and Scott pointed out, this is easy to use. It is fast to use. There's nothing confusing about it at all. And the older devices like PadNet, I mean, there's a lot going on, and then you have to have it read. I mean, there's a lot. This is boom, boom. You can move. Scott, how many can you comfortably do in an hour if you're doing this? I mean, it's a high number.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on I mean, most you can do 5. I would say 5 to 6. I mean, if you're doing a screening day, you can do 8 to 10 if you're really rapid firing it. But if you're gonna consult with the patient, I'd say 4 to 5. Most of the time they'll do like 2 in an hour. But I mean, most of our customers will do 2 to 5 a day. So you can do up to 10 though, for sure.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of the benefit of the speed that we provide isn't necessarily how many you can do in an hour. It's that you don't need to reschedule the patient to come back. You do it the same day as their normal E&M. You bill for it the same day as their normal E&M. And that just provides a lot of synergy with your normal patient flow.
Yeah, and I think for all the doctors I work with, I mean, you've got to be thinking about, you need to be working doctors for doctor pay on doctor. In fact, I have a podcast you might want to listen to anywhere you get your podcasts. It's just type in my name, Rem Jackson, or Prosperity and Something Greater, which is the name of it. And there's a lot of podiatrists, other doctors, educators on it. It's not about marketing or management or podiatry. It's really about, what it is to be prosperous and, what does that actually mean? But Dr. Neil Baum was on there. He wrote one of the first, he's a urologist from New Orleans, and he wrote one of the first books on medical marketing that came out. And he made he has a great way of saying, he said, it's your job to make sure that every minute you're in your clinic, you're working at the top of your license. Only you can do this. And when you start to develop your staff, most podiatry practices are understaffed. You need a good quality group of staff so that you are just really efficient, working at the top of your license, and the staff is supporting you and generating all that income and providing all that patient value. That's when it really starts to get, that's when it really comes together. And you can see those numbers go. And the great part about it is there's very little, you know, as you build like this, you know, it just, your fixed costs are already there. So most of all of this just drops to the bottom line, and it just makes you profitable. That's what you pay yourself at the end of the year, and it matters. So, and again, it makes your practice more valuable if and when you're considering an acquisition or a merge. Thank you, guys. Thanks for having me.
Thank you very much for having us, Rem. Thanks for everybody attending. I appreciate it.